We all know this expression, right?
I didn't sell out, son. I bought in.
What if I told you there was a third option? It kind of combines elements of both. It's the buyout. And that is the story when we talk about the band Thursday. Hey, how's it going? It's your friendly neighborhood gatekeeper Dan Frampton here, and today we're talking about turn of the millennium post-hardcore emo band Thursday. Normally these are stories if a band sold out or not, and in Thursday's case their backs were kind of up against the wall, and I guess a buyout can be kind of considered a sellout, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're going to be talking about this Thursday record, War All the Time, but before we get there, before we get to 2003, we got to go back to the late 90s to New Brunswick, New Jersey, okay? And there was this guy. His name was Jeff Rickley, and he had this house, and what he did in this house was have shows. So New Brunswick wasn't really known as a punk scene, really, but you know, a lot of people were going to these shows, and then all of a sudden it was like this huge punk scene, and people were going to New Brunswick instead of some venues out in New York. And that Jeff Rickley fella, he didn't just own a house that had shows, he would also be the front person in this band called Thursday. And it said at the time that this Jeff Rickley guy, he was very awkward, and people thought that he had no charisma. What was this guy doing fronting a band? He didn't sound like anybody ever. And it was kind of just like whatever, but they put out this record called Waiting. And through the buzz that they were creating through having their own shows and putting out their own records, they got the ears and eyes of Tony Victory, okay? Now, Tony Victory is a very controversial figure. He owned this record label called Victory Records. He kind of brought this tough guy, macho approach to what normally wasn't like a jock type atmosphere, okay? But what Tony Victory could do was market the hell out of albums. This guy knew what he was doing. He had a great eye for talent, and he knew the methods in which to exploit it. And boy, did he ever exploit it. He wrote up the most one-sided contracts that starry-eyed bands were just gonna sign. He made bands give up the publishing and the merchandising right away, even before recording. But he would give you $5,000 and a van up front. Tony Victory didn't really have the best reputation in the scene, like I was just going over. This joke band called Good Clean Fun, okay, they put out a not so joke song called Victory Records Sucks. But the most vicious one comes to us from MK Ultra. Bring me the head of Tony Victory. He was not a well-liked guy, and Thursday knew it. But they also knew that he made bands like Hatebreed. He brought hardcore to new heights that have never been seen before, and you know, Thursday kind of wanted a little bit of a part of that. So they signed on the dotted line, and they started talking to other Victory bands. When they started talking to Snapcase, Snapcase was like, oh my god, you guys made a huge mistake. What have you done? But Thursday was like, nah man, we're good. We're gonna put out Full Collapse, this record here, and we're gonna be fine with them, okay? The critics did not like the record. They were just all like, how about you go listen to At the Drive-In instead? But the fans were really starting to gravitate to it. They went on tour with Saves the Day, and things started really picking up for Thursday because their video for Understanding in a Car Crash was getting a lot of play on MTV2. So they had these two balls rolling at the same time, okay? MTV2 and a Saves the Day tour. But Tony Victory has this wonderful idea. He's like, I'm gonna take a bunch of whoopee cushions and put the Thursday logo on it and send it to a bunch of radio stations as promotion, okay? Whoopee cushions. Jeff Rickley would not take this well. He would go on to call it fart emo. And he didn't want to be fart emo, okay? That was not a compliment. They're not Blink-182. But it was right around this time this Ben Lazar guy was hired as an A&R guy for Island Def Jam, or Def Jam Island, whatever. Island, which was an offshoot of Def Jam, a record company. So he wanted to go out and get new bands, okay? That's what an A&R guy does. And yes, this is him. I was like, hey, is this really him? It says he's a photographer, but then you go to the LinkedIn and you're like, yeah, okay, he's a photographer first and foremost. You scroll down a bit and he's like, oh yeah, okay, A&R director, Island Def Jam, got it. So this was the guy that got Thursday on the mainstream radar, and all these A&R guys kept coming around, whining and dining and just swinging the big old dicks. But when Thursday saw how Def Jam handled the R. Kelly situation, they thought, oh my god, this label actually cares about stuff, we're gonna sign with them. So once they made that decision to sign with Island Def Jam, they had to put out this huge statement. And this statement goes through everything. It has all the whoopee cushion side of the story, okay? It goes into how they've been treated, but then it also says Victory Records helped us very much. They help us make the record and get it out to people. However, we realize that we are not and never will be creatively aligned with Tony and his vision for our band and his company. So basically, they wanted to separate from Victory, but that brings back in Tony Victory. And he's like, oh my God, you guys are coming into my house like robbers in the night and trying to thieve a band from me? He didn't take this very well. He does not like major record labels. He did not view them very well at all. And he didn't care that his band, something that he loved so much, was going to grow so big. He was going to try to stifle that at every opportunity he could because the record that came out on his label was doing pretty well. Thursday had one more commitment to Victory, and it was this record over here, 5 Stories Falling, more of an EP, I guess. But then we get to the buyout. Their backs were up against the wall because in their contract it said that they could not go to another indie label. The only way that Thursday could get out of a contract with Victory Records was one way only, and that was a major label buyout. And Def Jam, they were like, yo, yeah, we're gonna foot the bill, and they bought out the band. So here we are at the junction, okay? Does that make Thursday a sellout band? Their backs were against the wall. Their only 2 options were stop being a band and move on to other things, or have a buyout from a major record label. What would you do in that situation if you loved being in your band and you were on MTV2 and the ball was really moving? I think everybody in those shoes would take the buyout. So they didn't really compromise their artistic vision, and they did what they had to stay together. So in my opinion, when they came together to write and record War All the Time, they did not sell out. And the rumors go that this record was not easy to record. There was take after take after take. It was said that they didn't really enjoy it after it was done, but it did come out at number 7 on Billboard, right underneath Beyonce. So it was off to a pretty good start, but when they started doing the late night rounds, it wasn't really connecting with audiences because their show was catered to a room full of sweaty kids jumping on top of one another. And that energy was not a late night TV show type energy. And also, it was a MySpace time, so people weren't buying records that much, okay? People were consuming this stuff on MySpace. They were downloading it on the internet. So record sales started to fall and fall as time went on, but everybody knew the songs because of the internet. And if you were in an emo hardcore adjacent band around the turn of the millennium, it was all about the internet. The media tides were turning, and people that were early to the game really benefited. But now, in walks L.A. Reid, the final boss. We are at end game territory right now, okay? The head of Island Def Jam was no longer, and he was replaced by L.A. Reid. Now, when a new boss comes in, he has different favorites than the previous boss, okay? Thursday, we're rightfully nervous. They're like, this L.A. Reid guy, I don't think he's gonna vibe with our stuff so much. But L.A. Reid saw them live and was blown away by them, and their songs that sounded like hits, he was surprised that they weren't hits. So the story goes that he went backstage and was like, Thursday, you guys are so crazy. We are going to make you the biggest band in the world. Oh my God, you're so energetic and charismatic and fun, but you don't have a lot of hits. So once we get someone to write for you, you're going to go through the roof. Stratospheric nonsense. And Thursday were like, no, that's not for us. And it was that moment that L.A. Reid totally changed the winds, okay? And then there were 2 famous meetings between Jeff and L.A. Reid. And in the first meeting, L.A. Reid big time Jeff so much. Made him wait a whole lot, but Jeff was like, no, he's probably just a busy guy, okay? But then when he came in to the office, L.A. Reid was like, hey guy, tell me about the record. And as soon as he said that, he kicked up, put his feet up, and brought out the newspaper. And it was at that time, Jeff was like, oh man, we didn't play ball, and now he's not gonna help us out at all. So here they are again at a label where the head doesn't want them around and they owe them another project. And then they have a second meeting. Months later, Jeff is like, please let us go from your label. Let us leave. I see the writing on the wall. We're not meant to be here. And then L.A. Reid was like, okay, let me wait this out a little bit. I'll get back to you after Christmas. After Christmas came and L.A. Reid let them go. So it kind of ended all right. But that was the end of Thursday at Island Def Jam.
I didn't sell out, son. I bought in.
And Thursday bought out. So what do you think? Do you like Thursday? Do you think they sold out? Sound off down there in the comments. Leave a bunch of pancakes if you don't want to say any real words. I like that very much. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you're cool as hell. You'll get notified. And until my next upload, you can watch another upload.